Good afternoon, everybody. This is Bob Iacchino along with Mike Arnold, and this is an afternoon Path Chat for June 8th, covering the futures markets. On this morning's Path Chat, we stopped short after the European gross domestic product update that we got, awaiting the European Central Bank's rate decision. And as we mentioned this morning, there was no change expected, and there was no change across all four spectrums that decisions needed to be made on. The central bank rate, the lending facility, the deposit facility rate, and the asset purchase target all remain the same as the last meeting. We had Canadian housing starts come out a little lower than expected. We had new house price index for Canada year over year come in a little bit higher than expected. We had jobless claims come in a little bit higher than expected, but continuing claims come in a little bit lower. And we're now waiting on consumer price index year over year and producer price index year over year in China, as well as the Japanese tertiary index, all which will be happening later this evening. China is at 8:30 Central Time, and Japan is at 30 minutes to midnight Central Time. But all of that did not matter because today was all about James Comey. Now, before I go into James Comey, at the moment that I'm recording this, exit polls are starting to trickle in. They're not the official ones, but they're enough to say that it looks like Theresa May will easily retain the prime minister role, but she will lose some seats in parliament. That's the only update we have at this time. The pound is falling right now. Unfortunately, this is a futures update, so you'll have to wait until over the weekend when we do the weekend Path Chat for FX in order to see what happened to the pound, or rather see what Mike's opinion of what happened to the pound is. You can see the pound yourself. Now, James Comey. I almost don't want to go into this, but I guess I have to. Nothing really new. James Comey was clearly upset and disgruntled, but he also was clearly very honest, and he also, in my opinion, was apolitical. He wasn't political at all, and nonpartisan, saying that he was uncomfortable with some of the things that former Attorney General Loretta Lynch told him, in the same way that he was uncomfortable with some of the situations with President Donald Trump, although not to the level of writing them down and detailing them like he did with President Trump. But by my view, and I watched the entire thing, he's a very honest man. He is very conscientious, and he was very nervous about his situation. There were times he said he could have been more courageous and gone to the proper authorities right away with certain things, both good for the president and bad for the president. And he also claimed that many stories in the media are 100% false, but he can't comment on them because then he's commenting on classified information in a way that his oath won't allow him to. So I like Jim Comey after this testimony. That's just me personally. At the end of the day, it made the markets calm because gold sold off, equity assets rallied, and the dollar rallied, and the yield on the 10-year note rallied back above 215. So it wasn't much of a rally, but this ended up being just a complete dud, a nothing burger, no fireworks at all out of the James Comey hearing. What develops in the future from some of the things that were said today? I don't know. But he confirmed a lot of the things that the Trump campaign was saying, Trump presidency was saying, the Trump White House. And he also said that they lied about other things. But none of these things really seem to me to be legal issues, and therefore they're not market issues. Not a political statement, just watching what the market did. Gold sold off as the hearing progressed. Equities rallied. There's your answer. Having said all that, Mike can show you what happened directly on the charts, what happened in the VIX, which will be one of your telltale signs. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike. Michael, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Bob. Okay, VIX, even with everything going on with testimony and the Britain vote, still at 10.16 for the close. So nothing really to report on there. Dow futures spiking up, making a new high. We're going to keep the levels, saying there's no rules. There's not a rule that's triggered for this redraw yet. So on another run up tomorrow, let me zoom in here. Going into Friday, still first level resistance is going to be about 21,220 area. Then we'd be watching for a retest of today's highs, 21,270, and then we'll be watching for 21,321. If we do get that through there on a substantial rally, next level off is about 21,415 area. On a pullback, you can see this 12% is still very key, and the rising 8, they almost came to the same place today, and that was strong support. So that's about 21,133. If we do drop below that, next level down is 21,043. Then we have support at 21,023 and a rising 21. So that's going to be very key for support. If we did have a bigger drop, 20,945. This is a very powerful pattern also, guys. It's basing at around the 12.5% with a rising rotation zone, which tends to then push it higher in price. So that's what we're going to be watching for on a lot of these markets. S&P doing the same thing. You can see here, caught again on the 12.5%, 2,427 area. If it does pull back tomorrow, that's going to be first key support. There's going to be minor support coming in about 2,423. Then we don't have anything else until we get down to 2,415. And then finally on a very big drop, 2,411. On a rally, watch again for a retest of today's highs, which are pretty much the swing highs also. 2,439 area. The prior high was 2,439.75. So anywhere from 2,439 to 2,439.75 is your first target area on a rally. Then 2,451 and then 2,463. Over to the NASDAQ, which both the S&P and the NASDAQ and the Dow, see how they're basing right around this 12.5% with the rising rotation zone coming in. So when we see this happen, there's a very high probability that it doesn't have to happen tomorrow, but it could push to new highs very soon. NASDAQ rallied up, made slightly new highs today, 5,897.75. That's going to be first level resistance. If we do get back through there, 5,941 next level up, then 5,966. On a pullback, major support now, 5,855 area. If we get through that, 5,827. Then we're looking at 5,811. Then on a substantial drop, we'd be looking at the bottom of the rotation zone coming in about 5,775 area. And another GAN level coming in at 5,767. So those are key levels for those futures. Over to crude. Another drop in crude today, although not as substantial as yesterday. Didn't quite get down to the trend line and the GAN levels we talked about. Did find some support at the end of this advanced style clear path. So down move tomorrow, 45.20 first level, then pretty major support around 45.01 to 06. If we do get down below that, we're looking at 48.84. Then on a really substantial drop, the next major level would be about 44.35. Rally back up, 46, about 18 to 26 first level resistance. If we can get through there, we can see a rally to 46.81. Then above that, 47 to 47.10. Then we have the declining rotation zone coming in. Switching over to copper, which we haven't touched on in a few days because it hasn't been doing much. You can see it's been in this sort of declining consolidation pattern. Did find some support from this trend line a couple days ago, then very narrow range day yesterday. Today, however, broke above all this, coming straight up to our significant level, which has been on the charts for a very long time, pretty much closing exactly on it, and right below the defining level for this trend line. If we continue to rally tomorrow, first level of resistance is this longer trend line coming in about 263. Then we'll be looking for 263.86 to 264.73 area. If we do get through that, next key area is 266.17. On a pullback, we have pretty decent support now at 260. This is now a breakout zone. If we get down through 260, we'll be watching for about 258.43. And then we'd be watching to kiss the trend line goodbye, about 257.71. If we drop back below the trend line, next key area down is 255.80. Switching over to gold. Gold dropped today, updated the trend lines also in here. New initiating point, new defining point. There's technically another trend line that could be drawn in between here that's not on the chart right now, but it's not going to come into play yet. So this is the new defining point. It just happened to come down and hit the trend line exactly. So if you want to learn how we do our trend lines, head over to Path Trading Partners, and you can find out, or you can reach out to us at support and Path Trading Partners to learn how we consistently draw all our trend lines. Held on the trend line, rallied back up. If we do head lower again tomorrow, you're going to find some minor support around 1277.60. Then we're looking to retest this area, 1273. You might have some other support coming in about 1275, where the trend line is now. If we do get below that, you can watch for 1268 to 1267 area. And then we have a significant level at 1265. If we rally, 1288 first level of resistance, then we look to retest the highs right around 1291 to 1292. If we get through that, watching for a retest of the significant level, 1295 area, and then the 1298 for a retest of the highs. Finally, over to silver. Silver also pulled back after hitting our first target on the trend line trade. Found some support bottom with the rising 21 and the rising 50 coming in about 1729 area, rallying back up, closing just below the 8. So on a decline tomorrow, be watching for 1735's minor support. Major support 1729 to 1726 is very major. If we do get through there, 1716 to 1713 is your next key levels down. Rally back up, 1753, first level of resistance. Next level, 1768. Then we'll be watching for 1775. That's all we have for you on this quick PM futures update. Back to you, Bob.
Thanks for that, Mike, and thanks you guys for watching. If you like what we're doing, please click like and subscribe. And we're only 2 days away from a new Money Path podcast, so check that out when you have a chance. You can find it at pathtradingpartners.com, on Google Play, or in the iTunes store, Apple's iTunes store. Cheers, everyone. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you in the next Path Chat.